Hey there, it's me, Core. Welcome to Exercising Self-Control from Fitness to Flourishing. Now, as I'm getting this podcast going, I wanted to set the stage, and we're going to talk about the beginnings of endeavours. The first couple of episodes that I've done, the trailer itself, the Stoic Strength Training Manifesto that I just recorded and just published, those were a little more polished. As I go forward, these episodes are going to be extemporaneous, fairly improvised. Not that I don't put a lot of thought into what I want to say, but I want to make this more of a conversation. We're just going to chat. If you have something to say that you want to contribute, please do send me a little message. And if it's appropriate, I will actually just address it right in the podcast itself in the next episode, perhaps. And I hope that we actually do get a dialogue going that way. I think that would be fantastic. It's one of the reasons that I want this to be very rough in a way. And that does have to do with starting as well. When you want to make a change in your life, the simplest thing to do is to just start, is to do something different. Quite often, and I can speak from personal experience and personal frustration, the tendency when you want to start something is that you start first by reading what somebody else has done or what the best thing to do is, instead of just taking some kind of action. So in the context of a fitness practice, for example, if a person has not exercised, not in a long, long time, and they think, I'm going to start exercising. Quite often, they then start to talk to friends, to family, they read articles, they go on YouTube, and then the next step might be, well, what kind of shoes do I need? What kind of clothes do I need to be wearing? And that can go on for weeks, sometimes until, okay, that fell by the wayside. It's not happening anymore. When it would have been much simpler to just go outside and go for a walk. It's as simple as that. There's obvious and simple choices to be made to start integrating a new behavior into your life. With this podcast, for example, I don't want to overwhelm myself with having the best mic, the best conditions, maybe booking a soundproof room in, the local library. I'm not really sure. I've seen they have those kinds of things there. And again, just going into, well, what's the best practice here and there? Remember there was I'm sure it's apocryphal, this story, but there was a CEO or the head of a company, he was in a high rise and he was trying to work out this problem that his business was facing and he couldn't figure it out. And he was getting frustrated and he talked to people and he just wasn't hearing the right answers, at least not to his satisfaction. And in frustration, he went down and went for a walk in a local park. And lo and behold, he's just not coming up with anything. So he sits down on this bench and there happens to be a guy sitting there. The guy that he sees, a little bit rough, maybe doesn't have anywhere else to go. Maybe he's down on his luck, whatever the case may be. But this guy that was sitting on the bench kind of noticed the business owner and said, "Hey, buddy, you look like you're having some troubles." And the business owner, he basically just let him know what his problem was. He figured, why not? I'll talk out loud to somebody who shouldn't care and it doesn't matter. But then this gentleman that he found on this park bench that he sat beside started talking and gave him his thoughts. And all of a sudden the business owner thought, holy smokes, that's not bad. That actually might be something. And so he walked away, just said, "Hey, thanks, man. That was actually really good." And the guy on the bench just, "Yeah, sure. Glad to help." And they parted ways. The business owner went back to his business. He applied the ideas that he had from this conversation. And it worked. Everything turned around. All of a sudden the problem was solved. The challenge evaporated and boom, back on track. A few months later, business owner had another problem. Again, couldn't really find an answer. It occurred to him, holy smoke, I wonder if that guy's still around. So he goes to the same park, finds that same bench, kind of just walks around, looks around, can't find the guy. He keeps frequenting over the course of a few days, trying to find this gentleman. End of the story, he never did. But the point of the story is, it doesn't really matter the medium of the message, although it can matter, obviously. But if it's important, if the advice or the lesson or the information that you get is applicable in your own life, it doesn't matter if it's from an old newspaper that you find in the bottom of some packing when you're moving from house to house, something like that. Or someone just happens to tell you something and all of a sudden, click, problem solved again. And so to my thinking, I want the habit of putting out a daily podcast, sharing my message, sharing things that have worked for me along my fitness journey and how it started to apply to other areas of my life in a way that's not necessarily easy for me, but at least not so overwhelming that I can't do it. And this process is going to be polished as I go. My experience will improve. I'll be able to upgrade a few things in the medium itself, and I'll be getting better at the process. But initially, I'm just going to be talking to you, hopefully sharing value that you will appreciate and that will make a difference in your life. So that's the lesson today. It's just start with something. If you want to improve your diet, maybe just add an apple. It's as simple as that. Start to eat an apple a day. If it's exercise and you're not doing anything, go for a walk. Not even a half-hour walk. Like literally just open your door and walk outside. Maybe it's only around the block. Maybe it's a couple of minutes. Maybe it's 5 minutes. But then make that something that you do, because you're going to learn things about the process that you can have learned no other way. If you just sit and think about it, nothing changes. So that's it for today. Catch you next time.